Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
You would have liked to have seen Kirk. I made a espresso zabaglione on the channel, and I recently, just before the pod, got a comment saying, "Who the hell are you to talk about things that come out of Italy?"
I don't know if you.
I've been there.
Are we on, Liam?
We sure are.
Because I'm introducing. I don't know if you're across it, but Rowan's had some quite disgusting takes about the country of Italy.
I mean, I think I came in with some very factual statements. I was just talking about how espresso is not good in Italy, but for great reason, because they need to afford it.
Now, don't incriminate yourself by agreeing with him. Okay?
Oh, well, I already did. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay. Well. Okay, I guess that means I've got two enemies. Okay, the two blokes in denim here,
teaming up early.
Anyhow,
so we do.
Well, why I'm personally offended by it is because I've actually made a recent discovery that I'm part Italian. So,
well, me too. A small section, but it's there.
Well, it's us too. It's the curly hair. You can tell. The curly hair. We're both rocking the curls at the moment.
Well, I've got some good news for you, Kirk. I dipped into my own savings account. I spent the $120, and the Ancestry DNA kit is on the way.
Okay, all right.
So it's on the way. I'm getting to the bottom of this, and we're going to find out whether you really are 6.24% Italian or whatever you like to claim.
What I'm excited about
is when we find out that it's like you've got a long lost relative and you're actually the son of insert Mario.
What if it comes out that I'm like from Dagestan or something in Russia, and I'm like... We'll have to do a documentary on where I'm actually from. Where's Kirk from?
I could have upgraded the kit as well, and it would have given me, it would have told you all your, family tree. And I was like, imagine if I accidentally unearthed something on the pod that is, not actually part of his family. He was adopted. He was this and that.
Look, if we get there, if we have time later on the pod, should we call my dad? Just unsolicited? We'll call my dad and we'll see what's going on.
My mum's best friend was from Zimbabwe. Wait a second.
He's South African instead.
I'm not saying it.
But you and your brother, you and your dad look like brothers.
You reckon?
Yeah, very similar.
Well, I've been told he's a good-looking rooster.
There you go.
I would say a lot of people are probably asking, who is that sexy and sultry voice? Who is that coming from? Well, guys, on the pod today, we have two-time Australian Barista Champion, two-time top 3 World Barista Champions, amazing coffee icon, and also just all-around good bloke. We have Jack Simpson.
I was going to add in a little bit extra there. I was going to add a little bit extra there. It's like leader of the Andals and protector of the Rail.
Here we go.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, either. Thank you.
Game of Thrones reference. But welcome to the podcast, Jack Simpson.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course. And I mean, we better introduce ourselves as well. I'm Rowan Cook.
And I'm Kirk Pearson.
And...
it's just coffee.
Jack,
sorry.
Come on. Okay, one more time. I'm Rowan Cook.
I'm Kirk Pearson.
And it's just coffee.
I like that.
All right. Now, what's so great about this is we actually have an exclusivity with Jack. He will only appear on Kirk and my podcasts. We had him appear twice on Sub-Zero, or Kirk had him twice on Sub-Zero. Great podcast. If you can find him in the ether, go listen to him. But right now, you're here with us.
It's just coffee, guys.
And the exclusivity now extends to the It's Just Coffee podcast. So we're very glad to have you on the show today. Now, there was one thing that I want to talk about. I got an email. I got a listener. He sent in a few times. And he mentioned that he works for Starbucks.
Oh, I saw this.
And so I was just thinking about it. He was like, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm like, do we turn this into a bit of an insider mole situation? Do we turn this into our secret operative in Starbucks, where we can get secret information and find out all the hot goss about Starbucks through him and present it live on the pod?
A mole.
Yeah, we got a mole.
But are we incriminating the mole? Are we putting the mole in danger?
I mean, look, there'll have to be a contract written up that he'll have to sign. We'll have to work it all out.
I'm worried about the ethics around the mole.
Yeah.
If we don't protect the mole, The mole could be harmed.
Well, we've got to protect them all. Maybe we need to talk to our lawyers,
We gotta protect them all.
and just make sure that we protect them all.
We got to protect them all.
Protect them all.
Protect them all.
Moly, moly, moly.
Molly. We should get some T-shirts that say "Protect them all."
You could probably make biofuel out of that.
You could probably make biofuel out of that. Now, Liam's trying to be discreet and professional in the podcast and whisper something, but I couldn't understand a word he's saying. Liam, what are you
Go on,
asking?
hard launch, Liam.
Eco Barista.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm not there
I
yet.
thought you were going to do it after the introduction.
Buy me a drink first, Liam. Like, gosh, do you take a girl out and just straight away just, hello, go in for the kiss? No.
You gotta, work it a little bit. You
Yeah.
gotta get in there. Well, the most exciting news, Kirk, that's just happened to us. You remember we had Russ from Eco Barista on the pod?
Across the towers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Close relative of Faulty Towers. He came on the pod, and not only did he love that both of us use his products for our coffee, but he just said, these two guys are just too good looking, too handsome, and too knowledgeable. How could I not sponsor the pod? So It's Just Coffee has its very first paid sponsorship, which means we're not doing this thing for free. And I tell you what, it feels good.
Oh, no. Clap for that. That's hard work. That's hard work. But you know what? I'm excited to work with this one. It's not like you just solicit money from anyone. Like like you said, we've been working with Russ for a little while in both of our businesses. So
I've been using them for 3 years. I use the recyclable plastic bags, got them custom made, yellow print. And then you're working on it now. You got new products coming.
Oh man, what don't I have? We're getting cups, we're getting lids, we're getting coffee bags, a few other things that I can't quite say just yet.
Ooh, and I've seen some of the prototypes, and they're looking good. And you went, we're going a bit rogue here. We've got a few custom bags and some different things that you might not see happening. Do you reckon you could do it? And he was like, absolutely.
Well, he just said to me, "You tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen."
That's what you want to hear.
Like you know how you don't often get that these days. It's like you go to places, or you as a business you try and get things. It's like it's a bit hard. Oh, we don't use that material. He's just come to me and said, "Look, what do you want? I'll make it happen."
And all eco-friendly, compostable bags, recyclable bags. It's all great. If you want to check them out for your coffee business, whatever it may be, check out ecobarista.com.au.
And you'll get 15% off on your first purchase as well.
Yeah, sign up to the mailing
list. Sign up
list.
to the mailing list, get 15% off your first purchase.
Yeah, amazing.
I like that.
Thank you, Eco Barista. We're glad to have you on board.
Hey, what were you saying in the production meeting just before?
I was just asking you, because you're signed up with Eco Barista, I was like, Kirk, do you consider yourself a bit of an eco warrior?
No, I'm more of an eco barista.
Oh, there's the tagline. I'm not an eco warrior. I'm an eco barista. Advertising at its finest.
No, you got to really look after your first client. So, thank you.
Yeah,
to the Eco
absolutely.
Barista.
And also, we don't need to touch on this, but Ray Gunn, break dancer in Australia, retired.
A sad day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is particularly heartbreaking for me because, a lot of people have given her a lot of shit. And look, whatever. But I've been seeing a lot of breakdancing pop up in my feed lately. And do you reckon anyone really cares unless Ray Gunn had done what she had done? I think she did it on purpose. Ray Gunn has paved the way for all these other breakdancers. Before it was Jonah Tukanua.
Yeah.
And he's out of the highlight realm now.
I would say no one's done as much for breakdancing as Ray Gunn since Step Up or Step Up 2. So I think it's huge. And then it's also brought on the, the Canines. The Canines doing Bye 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 in sync in the middle of a game. Beautiful, ridiculous. I want to see more
You're
of
talking
it.
about the Australian men's netball team?
The Australian men's netball team. Look it up right now. Not right now, after the pod.
Yeah, I'm from your men's professional sporting team. I like the haka more, for example. I kind of feel like you're about to go compete in a game and that you want to win. I don't know if having a dance off's really I
don't know, really intimidates.
You don't show up to a fight and go breakdancing. Just go for the win.
Now, before we kick off, Kirk has actually sourced a pretty amazing coffee here, and I wanted to test your palate.
Oh, okay.
I want you to taste it. I want you to talk origins. I want you to talk processing. I think you know the producer.
Okay.
So it's going to be an interesting one. You should know it.
Bit of deductive coffee tasting.
Yeah, let's
You put me on the spot here, guys.
yeah, let's get into this and see how good that palate is.
Jack's drinking coffee live on air. He's grimacing.
Are you not liking that? What's happening?
Is it instant coffee?
That is the one and only Nescafe Gold right there.
Beautiful.
There we go.
I
don't think I know the producer.
Can I have a sip? I got to verify this.
That is
not many people would really know instant coffee as well as you in specialty. You have spent a lot of your time making instant coffee.
I have too many hours to be exact.
Yeah.
Um,
Actual instant coffee.
yeah. I didn't want to grimace just in case it was.
It was yours.
Well, that tastes like instant.
Yeah. But speaking of instant coffee, that brings us straight into the news story.
Yeah, well, Liam, can I get you to hit that button, please? Ron, I want you to read this news, and then I've got some commentary after it.
Oh, yeah. Commentary, absolutely. Okay. Vittoria wins lawsuit against Moccona in instant coffee for the design of their jars. So Moccona tried to sue Vittoria for saying that their jar was too similar, the labeling was too similar. But after months and months of legal battles, Australian company Vittoria has come out victorious. And one of the quotes that I loved was the issue of trying to pass off Moccona instant coffee's reputation is not something Vittoria would even want. So that's how you just throw them to the fire straight after you win the lawsuit. Like we'd want to taste like your crap instant coffee anyway.
It's a good point.
And you know what? I actually think there's another more sort of perverse angle to this.
Oh, take me there.
See, I think Moccona got to the lawsuit and they weren't really, their heart wasn't in it. You know what they showed up and did? They wanted to go for the win. They wanted to go for the jugular. But you know why they didn't win? They showed up and breakdanced like the K9s before the case, and they weren't able to get the win. But also, I actually have met one of the lawyers defending Vittoria in this case. Yeah, customer. Yeah. We're
Customer of what?
Project Zero Coffee,
Oh, where's that?
140 King Street, Melbourne.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that all the news we got for this week? Just the one?
We got a massive.
I know, we've got a
podcast.
massive guest. We've got to get into the old Jay Simpson. The old Jay Simpson. Now, the first question, especially when you're talking to a World Barista champ, top three champ, Australian Barista champ, what you want to ask is, what's your coffee order?
Yeah, what's your coffee order?
What's your coffee order?
It's going to be a boring answer, but I think I drink most coffees. So, every morning I drink a nice filter coffee or an espresso, something black coffee. But I don't discriminate. I drink everything. Some instant coffee here and there.
Do you dabble in the world of milk or just black?
Mostly black. I think for my role at work and competing in barista competitions, I think it's beneficial to keep trying milk. Otherwise, you sort of get out of touch with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't go to a cafe in the morning and order it as my preference.
All right. I'm gonna jump in here. You might want to deck me after this, Jack. But after knowing you, I've known you for a long time now.
Yeah.
And I think between you and Matt Perger, you're the hardest people on earth to make coffee for. Not because you're excellent judges, but I think there's, on top of scoring coffee in your own sort of way, it's also just there's a very narrow window of coffee that you actually like.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, I think, because I don't enjoy coffee too much, and I'm actually going through the process now. I do enjoy coffee.
Okay,
but
he just said, I don't enjoy coffee that much. He's a two-time Australian.
Wait, what's that on your shirt? Sponsored by Twinings. Oh my God.
We got a TA.
Oh, damn it. No, I do enjoy coffee. It's more, I'm not sort of easily impressed with coffee often. And I think I need to be more accepting of coffee that I get at a cafe. Yeah, I think I'm always chasing the best, right? So I think competitions brought that on. So I've got that drive to tweak it or try and make it a little bit better. So I think because of that, it's sometimes underwhelmed.
But like in terms of stylistic sort of interpretations of coffee, like I think you're very much a wash coffee guy, right?
For sure.
Washed Ethiopians are probably what sort of tickles your fancy the most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you because I very much have I have a lot of people always being like, oh God, this coffee's, it's going to be crap. Sorry, you're not going to like it. And I'm like, I have two different worlds of coffee. I have my just like average cafe coffee. Like that's one world. And it's like the time I'm going to be disappointed with a coffee is if I go in and buy a $20 coffee and it's butchered or tastes awful or like whatever. That's when it's like you can be annoyed by it. But if I'm just having like crappy espresso from wherever, I can just knock back whatever quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think it's those perceptions as well. It's like, if I'm making coffee for myself, I have the bar quite high.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to a cafe and I'm not thinking about it too much, my expectations aren't super high.
What's your weekend coffee? Like a Saturday morning, you're waking up at home. How do you do it?
A V60.
Yeah, okay.
What are you wearing?
Just in my footy shorts, straight out of bed.
Sorry, I just want to paint the picture for the audience.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Because a lot of the time at home, I don't have a kettle there. I boil some water and I use specialty instant. Like I drink instant. It's specialty grade. It's good stuff. But like,
so I was kind of going to ask this later, and maybe we'll have that question as well. But while we're here, like for the at-home baristas, hearing it from a champ, what are the kind of tips making the V60? Like, what are you doing? What can someone do to make sure that they're making a good V60 at home?
Yeah, it's really easy to make good coffee at home. I think you just need to purchase one or two good sort of pieces of equipment. So a kettle where you can regulate the temperature and it's got a fine tip. It's a bit of an investment, but it's worth it in the end. And a good grinder. So a nice hand grinder I've got at home.
Oh, you're doing the hand?
Yeah, hand grinder.
In the footy shorts, just grinding away.
Basically. So it helps me wake up in the morning. But yeah, I think with those two pieces of equipment, everything else is relatively cheap. It's easy to get a cone. Filter paper's relatively cheap.
Scales.
And exactly, scales as well. So.
It's one of the biggest ways you can level up people. If you're at home making coffee and you're not using scales, whether you're making espresso or filter, get some scales, learn some ratios, you'll love it.
But it also helps you for one of the biggest things where people think it's wanky. I'm like, for dialing in, especially if you're a beginner, you can waste so much coffee, especially when people are buying 250 gram bags. You can burn through half of that before you're dialed in. And if you don't have a scale, every time you adjust the grind size, it's going to adjust the amount of coffee that comes out as well. So just having that scale where you're like, whatever, 18, 19 grams in there every time, all you need to worry about is that grind size, and then you're sweet. You're going to waste way less coffee trying to dial in.
I sort of take it for granted because I just use them all the time. So I'm just like, it's an expectation that you have scales.
Well, I work with like a lot of these like at-home machines, and not naming names of any, and pretty much everyone is like, we don't want to show scales in any of our videos. Like 90% of people aren't using scales and won't use scales. We just need to show that it's easy and you don't need extra equipment, and that's how it is. So it's that kind of bubble that we get in as well, even with like single dosing versus hopper and that. It's like we're that 0.1% and the 99% are out there just chucking whole bags in a hopper and just going for broke. Yeah.
And if you have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, you've got plenty of good content on Golden Brown.
Thank you.
As well. Yeah, I'm just saying, like someone might listen to this and be like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? And I would just encourage you, go onto Golden Brown, see all the at-home barista stuff you can learn. You've got plenty on Axel as well.
We do, yeah.
So, Barista Hustle is another good resource. So if you do not know what we're talking about, then those are some good resources for you at home. Now, let's get into the Book of Genesis, Jack Simpson edition. What made you...
I don't know. It just felt right.
No, I like
that was perfect.
Good touch. What made you want to begin a career in coffee? Because as I understand it, I've interviewed you a couple of times now. Yes. You're a builder or a carpenter. And, now you're a World Barista Champion today.
Jesus. He's literally Jesus.
I don't know about that, guys.
What made you want to get your start in coffee?
Yeah, I think starting from maybe when I was like 15, trying to get my first job. So I worked at a small bakery in a small town, Mount Beauty. So shout out to anyone.
Oh, Mount Beauty.
Yeah, who's been
Mount
there.
Beauty.
And, beautiful, as the name suggests, right? But yeah, I started there in a local bakery. And I was lucky enough to work with someone that knew specialty coffee. And I was showing interest, and she sort of taught me everything she knew as I was sort of, making coffee on the weekends and after school and things like that. So that sort of sparked my interest, and then it evolved from there. So, I left and tried a few other things. So carpentry was the other one, which wasn't my favorite thing, but I don't know, when you finish school, it's like, what do you do, right? Like, I think being barista doesn't come to the front of your mind as a career path. It's
well, you're pretty handy on the tools these days. We did we did a bit of work together in Sydney last year, if you recall. We had to set up a stand, and Jack's all up there, and bam, 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 bam.
But to that point, it's something Kirk brings up a lot on the podcast about wanting to raise the level or the reputation as the barista as a career path.
Yeah.
And it, starting to move there, but he really wants to elevate into that world where there's a lot of people that move from different jobs to pursue that. But it often isn't perceived by the general populace as something that is a career path.
Yeah. I mean, it's never really spoken about. Like, I've surrounded myself with people like, you guys, the hospitality pros. And then, you can see that it's, it's a possible career path, but coming out of school, it's not, right? So, it took me a while, but I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship and I moved to Melbourne to do that. And, I'm thankful for that job because it took me all around Melbourne. And I still had that burning desire to, keep learning about coffee. And I would stop in the morning, half an hour earlier. I would go to a cafe and just try the best cafe in that area. And that was sort of my routine. So I'd get up early, go get a coffee before work. And then eventually I started making coffee on the building site. So I bring an AeroPress, at lunchtime and brew it. And, the first day all the builders were, giving me a hard time, as you would expect, bringing my scales and AeroPress. And then eventually I was making coffee for them.
Yeah, it's always how it goes.
I would ask the types of things that they said to you seeing that, but I don't think it's probably appropriate for this podcast.
I'd say you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of that burning desire to kind of learn more and do that, at what stage did you decide I want to compete? Was it when you were 15 in that little...
No. I mean, I knew of World Barista Champions before then, but I didn't really understand the competition or anything about it. That sort of happened as soon as I joined Axel. Obviously, Dave, the owner of Axel, came second in the world in 2008, and he was quite prolific in the competition scene. So seeing what he had achieved and, built Axel on the back of some of that success as well. So... and it really sort of spurred me on to look into it a bit more. And then from there, it was more of a, I sort of got a bit stuck in my career at one point. It's like, where do I go from here? And competition was that outlet to learn more and use my own time to learn more about coffee, from myself, I guess, rather than looking to other people to teach me. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start exploring things in this space. So,
and this is a good opportunity to segue into sort of your competition career and achievements. And I think and for anyone listening out there, they might be thinking, oh, barista competition, that's a bit wanky. Yeah, well, I mean, so much has come good from the industry out of competition. And, why wouldn't you want to better yourself as a barista? I hope more people enroll in the barista competitions, the Brewers Cup, and we just really make it something that's so much more competitive. And on that note, what were some of the biggest challenges for you in your first year? Because you're going into something and people might think, oh, you've just got to make a few coffees for a few judges, say a few words in 15 minutes. Not that hard. I've done it, competed against you. It's incredibly challenging. What were some of the challenges for you, biggest challenges in your first year?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, as you know, right? It seems easy when you're watching it. It's 15 minutes, you're just chatting to some judges.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It feels very difficult.
For me, I was like, oh, that's easy. I could do that. Yeah, and then so you start training and it's like, okay, where do I start? What do I do first? And
there's a great big rule book that's 30 or 40 pages long that you've got to learn back to front.
I know it inside out now.
Yeah, well, one of the first things you're told when you first start competing is go through with a highlighter, read all the rules, highlight those that you don't understand or those that you need to, question again.
And half the time of people hitting that higher level on the sheets, it feels like it's because they're finding not loopholes, but things in the rules where well, I could shift it up by doing this, or basically I could use this tool or whatever it is.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's just you're not sure where to start and where to go. And if you're not surrounded by people that have done it before, it's almost impossible, right? So
it should be noted as well. The barista competition rules are kind of like the regulations in Formula One. They change very regularly. They're bended and crafted kind of on the fly. Fair to say?
Yeah, and I think now's with the point where I'm reading these rules, and like you said, I'm trying to sort of, is this within the rules? You're pushing it to you're trying to do things that haven't been done before. So,
yeah. A good example is the freeze distilled milk, right? Is that something where people couldn't use cream?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yes, that is another one, and cryo-desiccated milk as well. So we went through that process. And then the year after, they sort of changed the wording to say that we couldn't do it, and then corrected it again. So, it's always evolving. And the wave machine that I used this year as well, that was another one. I'm like, okay, can I use this machine? But
so what? Give a bit of an explanation on what the wave machine was.
So the wave machine is basically a device that's sending ultra-low frequency electromagnetic waves through liquids. So I used it for two sections of my routine. First being sending waves through the espresso. And what that did was basically encourage molecules to bond together. And I found that created a more sort of smoother texture, changed our perceptions of reducing bitterness, and increasing sweetness. So sorry.
Well, I'm just saying to the listener at home, or the viewer, like that's where we are now with barista competitions. We're getting espresso, we're putting electromagnetic fucking waves through it.
How does this thing exist? Where does this machine come from?
So it comes from like industrial industries in Singapore, actually. So it started off by treating water in cooling towers, like large volumes, and ballast water in ships. So the ships can sort of stay upright, when they're fully loaded. So
you were just on the industrial ship one day and you were like, well, look at this. I reckon I could put that in my coffee.
No, but then I connected with someone called Gary Ong, and he's taken this technology and sort of reduced it down to a really small size. And then from there, he's using it in juices and coffee.
I've seen he's doing juices.
Yeah.
Wave juices.
So
maybe ride the wave.
I connected with him quite early on in his journey, and we collaborated together, and he was lucky enough to send me some machines over I could play around with and incorporate it in my routine.
So was that your idea? You saw this technology getting used, or
he was using it in coffee before I connected with him, right. But he was sort of new to it. And he was still exploring, which he still is now, trying to, make adjustments and improve. So, I caught him quite early on. So I think it was, timing as well.
Is this something that is like just something that you found that you could use, or is this something that you think in a wide area could be like utilized in cafes or at home or that kind of thing? Like, can it be kind of made more accessible?
Yeah, I think definitely in the future it's probably going to get a bit more like that. Part of my routine in the barista competition was, improving by one small step every day. And it was one of those things that, improved it by a small margin. So, there's a lot of different things we do in the industry to make our espresso better. Whether it's distribution, tamping, grinders. So it's another step that increases, complexity and quality of the overall espresso. But definitely I can see it branching out into like a wider audience and different uses within the industry as well.
Yeah. Now tell me, what was it like winning the Australian Barista Champ, like taking that home? What did that feel like? What was that moment like? It must have been pretty special.
Well, yes and no. Interesting answer here. I think it's when I'm competing, I think I have to get into a mindset where I'm the best in the world, right? It sounds very arrogant. I don't think that, but it's where my mind has to go, I think, to compete. So it was, my mentality is like, what would a champion do, or, what would the World Barista Champion do in every step of the evolution of going to the World Barista competition, right?
Is there someone like a sports figure or someone in life where you kind of draw inspiration from in that? Like, I don't know, you saw the way Max Verstappen drives and just thought, geez, I could utilize that, or?
Not really, but I think it probably stems a little bit from that because, I have done a lot of sports in my past. So, but once I won, it almost felt like it was another step towards becoming the World Barista Champion. So it sounds weird, but it was very it was really, it was a moment that I was looking forward to for a long time. But when it happened, it was almost like 5 minutes after. It's like, all right, okay, what do I do next to train for the World Barista Championship?
And you might not sort of admit this, but like to win the Australian comp is really, really tough. One of the most competitive sort of competitions in the world, because you've beaten people the likes of Hugh Kelly, Gabriel Tan now, Danny Wilson was some of the people. Like the competition's intense and people invest a lot into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an amazing culture that we've created in Australia of barista competition. Like, I think that's a credit to people in the early days who, trained really hard and set high expectations. So yeah, I'm very thankful for that, because that's, if I didn't have people like, Gab and Hugh and everyone else I'm competing against at that standard, it wouldn't push you, I guess. So, I'm competing against world-class competitors. So it's like, how can I get this edge? So I think it's that part of that mentality.
Now, what is it like then? I mean, you kind of answered it here where you were saying that it was like that next step forward, but the second time that you won it, was that more like, okay, not even worrying about the win, it's just like, I've beaten that challenge again?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to like take the shine off the Australian Barista Championship, because, you asked me 3 years ago, what would I feel like if I won that? Like, I would say, it's life-changing. It's one of my goals in my life to do. So it's quite sad that I'm not enjoying it to that sort of high levels.
But this is what competitors do. Once you reach the milestone, you want more.
It's what did Kobe say? It's like, it's not done yet or something, when it's like, why aren't you smiling? Job's not done.
But I think part of it, you need to enjoy the process. And that's something I'm trying to learn now. It's like, whatever I do in life, it's you got to enjoy it. And not that I didn't enjoy it, but it's just, I think celebrate those wins that you have on the way.
But to that tough side of it, I feel like when I watched the World Barista Championships, when you were competing, felt like a lot of the competitors felt like they'd been broken by the competition before. And a lot of them were kind of starting out with this thing. It's like, well, this has broken me so many times and I've given up on life and I've done this. But I'm back again. And this time I'm coming in with the approach of like, screw it, like enjoy it. So it feels like that competition takes a lot of mental strain on these competitors.
Oh, yeah. I think it's one of the hardest things that I've, pushed myself through. But I think, every other competitor can relate. It's countless hours. It's you dedicate everything that you're doing to this competition while it's on and while you're training. So I can understand.
And you feel like you had more sort of, I guess, confidence in the second one because you've been on stage more times, because nothing really prepares you for a barista competition like being on stage. Like, you can do as many run-throughs as you like, but there's no experience like that on-stage experience. So do you reckon having those extra reps, being on a few years now, being a seasoned competitor helped you?
Oh, 100%. And, I think it's very daunting to get on stage and it's one thing being in front of a big audience and judges and people that are going to score you, right? It could be bad, could be good. But it's also, challenging to put yourself out there, because you go up there and completely flop, right? And I think that's another scary part. So, really putting yourself out there. So more times you do it, you're definitely going to start to, feel more confident. And I think it was one of the keys to my success that I've had is that I invited a lot of people to come watch me. So, I was inviting customers or whoever, people from the gym. I was like, come down and watch me. And, people that didn't know the industry, they were great to have in because they would do weird things that judges wouldn't. So, really put me off. So, training in those situations sort of really prepared me, I think, for comp.
Have you had any fiascos live where it's like, did you get through it? Did you hide anything where it's like, crap, that wasn't meant to happen?
Yes, and I can answer this question for it. Do you know what I'm going to say?
I do.
So there was one competition where Jack and I competed against each other, and he spilled a coffee, and it's like that could bury your whole routine, really. Yeah. But he actually maintained his composure, cleaned it all up, and
wiped it back into the
cup.
Wiped
it back, made another coffee.
Wrung out the cloth into the cup, served it up.
Did it really well. And mind you, this is a disastrous thing to happen during a barista competition. But then he came back strong and won the whole thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So was that just part of the time? Like, were you just like, I know I have this much time left. I know I have.
I think it was early on. It was my second year of competing. So
you were demoralized after it happened as well.
Yeah, I was broken. I was just like, I trained so much for this and, this happens, right? But, in reality, I probably didn't train enough. And now I know that. But, I was just nervous and I was like, just, shaking a little bit, and I dropped an espresso and it went everywhere. And then that split second in my head, I'm like, do I serve like this half empty espresso or do I remake it?
Yeah.
And then I decided to remake it and thankfully I did.
Yeah. And that's why you always have spares of everything on stage as well. Spare cups, spare doses of espresso, always do it on stage if you're in a coffee competition. What I want to know is, and I'm sure many listeners as well, how do you actually prepare for a World Barista Championship run? Because there's a lot that goes into it that I think the common man wouldn't know. So please enlighten us all.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not too glamorous, but it starts quite far out. So, I'm already thinking about next year now. Some ideas that I can bring. So I think the journey for the last season I did was about 6 months, probably a little bit longer, but 6 months of probably in the training room. So thinking of ideas and like that this year, I connected with Gary. So that was sort of my first step and, exploring this new device. So I sort of break it down in a few phases, but the first bit is sort of exploring. It's like, okay, what do I want to share with the judges? How do I want to present this? And, float a few different ideas. And I probably change my mind 3 or 4 times about what I'm actually going to talk about on stage. So that's part number one. And once that's locked in, that's when I sort of start piecing it together. And that's a very tedious process. So, I'll write a speech and, I'll think about coffees and what coffee is going to fit this routine. And it sort of starts to snowball. So once you sort of have that, all your ideas and your speech, it sort of becomes like fine tuning. So you've got all the meat and potatoes there. It's sort of just like, okay, I'm just going to change this little bit here. And, eventually you're making all these changes and hopefully every week you're improving your routine over and over again.
So along this process, and if you guys can't disclose this, that's fine. But how much does it cost from start to finish, from day one of prepping for Australia?
I can answer this. For a World Barista Championship routine for a run, tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, it really depends.
More. Look at that. That's a little poor Kirk over here. Let's talk about 70K.
I've heard a lot of people throw out numbers, some big numbers. I can't really disclose it all because I'm not paying for most of it. But I've heard some really absurd numbers, which I don't think are necessarily true. This last year, I don't think I spent too much money because I had a lot of the equipment already. So, for anyone that doesn't know, we've actually got the competition spec at Axel. So we've got the machine, tables, everything, exactly how it's going to be on stage. So we've replicated that.
The wave machine?
But the wave machine, yeah.
So when are we've got to do a video on Golden Brown with this wave machine.
Please, I'd love to.
I do have to give you a pre-warning though. It will get a lot of views and it will get a lot of hate. Yeah. So as long as you're prepped for that.
All good.
Good old coffee internet.
We had our old Hugh Kelly back a while ago when he did his the extract chilling thing.
Balls?
Yeah, we did the ball on the channel, and I tell you what, that comment section went to roast town.
What got more roast, that one or your desecration of Italy?
What was the desecration?
When you said Italy has bad coffee.
Oh, that one for sure. That one went up. That was like millions and millions of views.
That was the Hugh Kelly one?
Yeah,
Really?
millions and millions. And if we do a thing where it's like the best way to make espresso is by putting a wave, what is it? Like wave molecule binding machine inside it. It always starts nice because the coffee audience are the first people to see it. Right. They're like, wow, how cool, interesting. And then once it crosses that 500,000 mark and it starts going out to random people, it's just like, bloody coffee wankers, these nerds putting like wave machines in the coffee. Just drink your coffee and shut up. So, I'll just pre-warn you. Now, with the wave machine, can it come here or do I need to come down to Axel?
It's portable. Yeah, I actually took it to Colombia. So if I can take it there, I feel like I can take it anywhere.
Take it here. Yeah, great.
That wave machine's traveled more than I have.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Well, you've got colleagues, obviously former World Barista Champion Anthony Douglas and his roaster, Matt Crowley, your roaster. How much do you lean on them when you're doing things like this?
Yeah, a lot, obviously. And I think two other people I'd love to mention there is my partner, Gabby, and Dave Macon as well. Because they're both instrumental to everything I do as well. So, yeah, those four people, as well as many others. But, yeah, they help me out so much. And I don't think it's possible without that support team. It's such a wealth of knowledge.
Now, we talked about it I was getting Kirk to kind of give me some like information on competing and doing it because I sit outside of that and, I've watched it, but I don't ins and outs. So is that your full team, like just at Axel, like that kind of like from coaching, whatever it is and all that? Because then I was asking the question of like, does it feel weird? I kind of like that, right? When it's a group of like, we're Axel Coffee Roasters, we're working together as a team. We've got ideas that we bounce off one another and we're going to present it to the world. Whereas I find it a bit strange when it's just like a barista and then they go out and hire some coach who then is like, and I guess, all sports have that, but it feels a bit weird where it's like, how much is the coach doing? Like, what's the balance there? Is the coach like, do this coffee, do this thing, do that, and then they're kind of just like the piece that puts it together?
Yeah. I mean, we've done both. So I've actually trained people and I've had people train me as well. So that was sort of on the early days. And Anthony had some coaches from overseas as well. So we learned a lot from those guys and, they were some of the best coaches in the world at that stage. So very lucky to have that sort of influence. But I don't know, I think you get to a point where it's like, okay, you feel established enough as a barista and you just want to put your ideas out there. So yeah, I think for me this year, I've got, Matt, Gabby, Dave and Anthony there and I can bounce any ideas off those guys.
That's almost like one of the most current and effective coaching sort of
What a team.
rooms ever in barista competitions anyway.
I guess it started like, we did get these coaches in and we did learn a lot. And Dave has been around for a long time in the scene. So, he's got that wealth of knowledge. But yeah, we've just got to that point where it's like, okay, we're ready to do what we want to do on stage rather than sort of incorporating other people's ideas.
And I love that respect because that's, I think, I'm going for the bump. There it is. There we go. I was just going for like a fist bump there and just got left hanging.
Boy.
Yeah. Well, no boy is more so what happened. No, but I love knowing that like, I love the idea of having a coach that can help you fine tune, but I love knowing that the ideas like these are things that I want to represent and what I want to show to the world as the person competing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I've got to ask, coming in, so you came in third first time in the Worlds,
Yes.
and coming in second.
Yep.
What does that feel like? Is that like, sorry if it's a hard question, but I just,
I've answered that a lot.
yeah. But just that feeling, like, does it kind of inspire you to be like, screw it, I'm coming back and I got to get it again? Is it kind of like, does it take you back? What does it feel like in that moment? Or for both sides as well, third and second?
Yeah. I think the first one was a bit different, right? Because I didn't really have that many expectations. So I was hoping to make finals. That was sort of my goal. Obviously, I'd love to win, but finals was my goal that year. But yeah, when I called out third, it was sort of like a bit of a blur. I was like, okay, am I happy with that? Is that good? And I don't know, it's sort of hard because you don't taste the competitor's espresso or anything like that. So I don't know, it was a bit flat after coming third. Not thinking that I should have won or anything, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a weird spot to finish. It's like, yeah, you've done well, but it's like you were so close.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Like
prove.
It's almost better getting like not third and you're like, well, I was way off.
Yeah,
Third, you're like,
right?
I was actually pretty close.
Well, not to labour the point, but like you say it's so close. The next time you came around, you've come second, and it was by a point.
Yeah.
So like,
Which was the hook that we took hard when we went into our video review about it. I mean,
we did.
Hope it helped you get some views.
Yeah, it did,
but like,
thank you for that.
It's like the I think it's 670 and 671 or something like that was the point scoring in that, somewhere around there. But like, I think it was 0.1% variance. We sort of calculated it out to be, and it's like it's really it could be the most obscure reason that they've kind of given the extra point to Macau over you.
Mm-hmm.
How does that kind of make you feel? Like we can all sort of speculate from me and Rowan sitting here to someone watching from home, but how does it feel to kind of have that happen to you? Like, like I'm not saying you're a victim of anything.
Nah.
Macau's a deserving winner and stuff, but like, how does that feel to come that short?
Oh, it doesn't feel good. It's it was. I went through a lot of different emotions because it's like 1 point, and it's like you go through the score sheet and you see the points. And I think I'm not sure if you know, but the first 2 rounds I was ahead by a lot as well. So, you don't know that at the time, but you finish and you look at the score sheets and you go through every single box and it's like, okay, why did they score me a little bit higher in this box? So yeah, obviously took that really, really hard coming second.
How does that transform over the rounds to be so ahead in every round leading up? Like, you're like, I have no answer for you. That's a good question.
I've got 2 answers, all right? Like one is, coffee's subjective.
Yeah.
Different judges, different days. I was the first competitor, that could play into it. Like there's a lot of different factors that we just can't control or know about, right?
And just on the subjective side, I didn't taste the coffees. I was just watching. But from the subjective side, your routine to me as the person that I am stood out more and I connected with it more and thought, I was like, that's the routine. And the other routine was great, but it was like worlds apart on like more of like this yoga retreat kind of like setting where it was like, I'm going to take you on a spiritual journey. So it was very 2 different worlds. And that one, if I'm the judge on that day, that doesn't resonate with me, but yours does.
Yeah. It's hard because it's like all these scoring boxes are completely different, right? So that section that you're talking about is like if you resonate to it, and how did the judges perceive that performance? There's only a few boxes that you can score in that, right? And then the rest comes down to coffee and numerous other things.
And on that as well, Macau, who won, like it's kind of like you're about to go through what he did, and because he's been to the Worlds, I think 2 or 3 times before.
Yeah, 3 times, I think.
Yeah. So he's had plenty of cracks at it, and then finally got over the hump, and I'm sure he felt elated after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I should add, I am stoked that I came second, but it's just like, when you're so close, of course, it's hard. But
no one could argue that.
And I think, Mikhail is such a amazing specialty coffee representative for the world. So he's a very deserving champion.
He's a bloke that he used to live and work in Melbourne as well. I don't know if you knew him at that time.
I didn't know.
And he's done so much hard work to get to where he is.
Yeah, he's an amazing professional and such a nice guy. So seeing like someone like that succeed is really good. So I don't want anyone to think that, I don't think Mikhail should have won because, he's very deserving and an amazing barista.
One thing that kind of intrinsically linked you both, I guess, is that you essentially had coffees for both courses from the same producers. So for milk, you're using Low House Coffee in Colombia, and for the espresso, both of your coffees were from Finca Deborah. Now, I will preface that your coffees were kind of like diametrically opposed in terms of flavors. So I felt that was interesting, but it's a good segue into what my next question was going to be. What goes into selecting coffee for the World Barista Championship? Because the whole goal is that you've got to make the best coffee of your goddamn life. And so you've got to choose the best beans that'll give you the best chance to do that. So what was your sort of thought process going into that?
Yeah, I think my sort of goal over the last 3 years is just to try as many coffees as possible. And that's a very privileged position to be in. So I'm very lucky to have that. But yeah, I feel like I know who's producing really good coffee. So, part of the process is getting all these samples and then trying and seeing what these producers have this year and to serve. I was lucky enough to go to Panama this year as well to visit a lot of farms because I knew that was, it was coming into, harvest and it was like perfect time to select coffees. So we went there and, Panamanian coffees get snapped up really fast. So,
Well, Panama, to bring the listeners up to speed, it's kind of like where the best of the best coffees come from in the world at the moment, and have been for a while. What's it like kind of being there? And, it must have been an awesome experience traveling there, but what's it like once you're on the ground in Panama? And mind you, like knowing your story, you had to get there pretty quick. Because, the turnaround between the Australian and World Comp wasn't very much.
Yep.
And so you're rushing over to Panama. What's it like being there and actually getting to choose the coffee?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like Boquete, the village there is like just such a beautiful town. And it's quite known for its wildlife as well. So it's just like it's a beautiful place. And it's surrounded by, beautiful coffees and people. So it's, it was such a privilege that I got to go there as well.
Because, it's not like you're going to like a dairy farm in the Riverina region or something like that here. You're going to like a mountainous range that's like overlooking like a scene from Avatar or something. And then all the smells and aromas and you get to try the coffee.
Not Lord of the Rings or something? Not like you're on Tatooine?
No, like you're on Endor, the forest moon of Endor.
The forest moon of Endor.
Yeah, I had to squeeze a Star Wars.
You lost me again.
Yeah, same. Thank you. This is what I have to deal with every week is some random sci-fi reference.
Pardon me, what was selecting coffee in Panama like, Jack?
I mean, it's some of the best coffee in the world, right? So, you're visiting all these farmers and just like, it's just the perfect place to grow coffee or one of the most perfect places to grow coffee. So it's, it's amazing.
Did you worry you're going to get shot up or kidnapped while you're over there?
No, I felt very safe when I was in Boquete particularly. I didn't spend much time in sort of Panama City or anything like that, but we did drive from Panama City to Boquete, which is like a 10-hour drive basically up the country. So that was, I was a little bit cautious going through that process, but it felt relatively safe.
And you ended up using coffee from Finca Deborah, which is owned and run by Jamison Savage. And Jamison Savage is like, he looks like he could just remove your Adam's apple with ease. He's like this kind of SAS. Kind of this like SAS looking guy. So you chose like a big, funky nitrogen natural, refined nitrogen natural. And Mikhail chose like a washed geisha, which is like, I don't know, like yours is probably like berry, fruit forward, textural, and his is like floral, mandarin.
Yeah. It did have a similar process. So they both were nitrogen macerated, but Mikhail had a washed finish. So part of that process stopped and then it went to a washed finish. So there were some similarities, but it was so interesting that the top three, we all chose coffees from Jamison Savage to serve as espresso. So I don't know. I feel like we're pretty in line, and it was quite unique.
Do we off the cuff? Do we want to like just explain to the listeners what that process is?
Is that nitrogen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack, take the floor.
Yeah.
You've only got 15 seconds. That's it.
Okay, easy. So basically, we have a process called like CM process, carbonically macerated coffees, meaning it's a sealed tank flushed with carbon dioxide, removing all oxygen. And what we find, well, it's a process taken from the wine industry, and a few coffee producers have taken it on now, and it's sort of starting to become commonplace. Not super common, but you can find it quite easily. And it just produces a really funky and textural coffee that you wouldn't get if it wasn't in that environment. But what Jamison's done is use nitrogen, which is a heavier inert gas, to flush out the tanks rather than carbon dioxide. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a chemist, but from what I'm tasting, it had a textural element that I wasn't getting in anything else. So he uses CM process for a lot of his coffees, but just the nitrogen macerated coffee in particular had an amazing texture.
It must be a pretty cool experience, like having a cupping table full of coffee of that quality. Because a lot of people listening to this, they're working coffee. They might have done a cupping and you're like, yeah, this is cool. But like when you're doing a cupping in Panama at farm, one of the best in the world, choosing a world's coffee, that must have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like the flavor's just like, whoa, senses like.
It's sort of, you get to a point where you're just tasting the best coffees in the world over and over again. So it's sort of, I don't know, like you lose that sense of like, wow, this is amazing. I'm still thinking it, but it's just like, you're just surrounded by good stuff, right? So it's good to have that perspective where you're trying coffees that aren't as amazing, and when you do try these coffees, you realize how good they are.
I'm going to jump in with a quick plug here, if I may.
I was going to lead you in. I was going to say, hey, how much does it cost? And then I was going to lead into your plug.
Well, heinous amount, because we're actually going to get to serve Jack's coffee and Mikhail's coffee at my cafe, Project Zero Coffee.
Oh, Project Zero Coffee?
I think we're locked in, and we're going to do it on the same day. So like you'll be able to try, Mikhail's and Jack's. So like they're pretty much equal in quality, arguably like, just unbelievably good coffees. You're going to get to try them at our shop on December 7th. I think we're going to do that. So
are you going to make sure that you're there to represent and be like, no, that's crap. That's not how I served it.
I'll just taste everyone's espressos before they go to the table.
Yep, that's right. Yep, that's spot on.
It might add more value. Hey, this has been touched by the champion himself.
I don't know about that.
But, we actually served Jack's coffee once before, the day he was on stage, which was pretty cool. And we showed your routine as you were doing it. People got to drink your coffee. That was really cool.
I'd love to give a quick shout out to Jonathan as well. So Jonathan Gaskar. I used Jamison's coffee for the espresso, and Jonathan's coffee was for the milk course as well. So that was equally as pivotal in my routine as well.
Pacamara.
Exactly.
Tastes like a cherry ripe on steroids or something. That was an unbelievable coffee.
Yeah, it was very unique. And like a lot of people had that and just like, what is this? I can't believe it's coffee. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out.
To finish my point, I don't know if this is going to be released in time, but December 7th, Project Zero Coffee. Bring some cash, bring a friend. You get to try World Barista Championship level espresso.
Yeah. The next thing will be when he's live on stage, you have like grind by sync, like the machine is making the coffee by itself as you're in somewhere else in the world making it. It just makes it out for you. Packing for this is just random, but I'm saying, what's it like packing for that? What are you taking over in the bags? Are you taking milk? Are you taking coffee? Are you taking espresso machines?
Everything except espresso machines, but everything else. So I think,
how do you travel with milk?
Well, you have a crack at that, and then I can.
Our good friends at Riverina sorted me out there, so they were a huge help. So they actually have gone through that process before, sending milk overseas. So they wrapped it up, covered it in tea towels, ice packs, gels, amazing eskies, and we put it at the bottom of the plane and took it over.
Well,
so
I was actually charged, when I worked for Riverina, I was actually charged with helping prepare for shipping Jack's milk. And
you could have sabotaged him.
Well, could have, but there's like rigorous. So what they did, they actually test all the batches of milk to make sure, which one's going to be the best on stage. And then there's like a rigorous process, wrapping it, preparing it, make sure you get long life ice packs and all that sort of stuff and then you got to make sure it doesn't get too cold as well, because you get like, you can freezer burn the milk essentially.
I want to tell that cow that made the milk. Imagine it's going to be like, your coffee is being used in the World milk is being used in the World Barista Championship right now, Bessie.
But on the rest of it, like it's real tough, like preparing to pack all this stuff, because you're like, if one of these things breaks, I'm screwed. Or if your baggage gets lost, which has happened to competitors as well,
for sure,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, that was difficult. I think we had like, just thinking, but I think it was around 150 kilos worth of equipment and luggage to take over.
Expensive bill.
Yes, it was expensive. But yeah, it was just like I had to take doubles of a lot. We packed everything. You know, I had my parents helping. You know, everyone was helping me wrap things in bubble wrap and
Checklist sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, so many checklists. But nothing broke when we got it over there. So it all showed up. We had no problems. I guess the other thing is like traveling with coffee, it's always delicate, you know, when it's changing pressure and temperature in the aeroplane. It's just one of those things that you have to go through unless you're roasting there. And part of my preparation is I like to stay at home for as long as I can and then get there sort of last minute and perform then. But some competitors will get there a month early and roast their coffee over there. So depends how you want to go about it.
That seems like a bit stressful leaving it that fine, but you know, that's something I'll leave to you.
Also jet lag depending on where you are.
Yeah, I haven't.
And you're not a great flyer either.
No.
Sorry to throw you under the bus, but
yeah, absolutely hate it.
I get a little nervous up there.
Very nervous.
Oh,
yeah.
do you want me to bring me with you? I'll be emotional support.
Hey,
it's fine.
Please.
And hold hands on the plane. I'm fine.
It's more like the lead up and taking off on the airplane.
Yeah.
Once I'm up, I'm like, it's easy. I'm here. But yeah, it's that stress just before I'm about to jump on the plane that's just like a bit scared.
Who are some of the other competitors that really impressed you while you were there? One guy, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I think the guy from the Dutch guy, Javon Lamar Janga, I think his name is, from Rip Snorter Coffee. Isn't that a great
Rip Snorter?
Rip Snorter Coffee. But I actually felt like
From Colombia?
His routine when I was watching, I was like, this is the sexiest routine. Like he had this really unbelievable egg cups that he was serving his signature drink in. Looked awesome. I think his coffee selection maybe let him down. I mean, on paper, his coffees didn't stack up to what yours and Mikhail's did for me. But like, I was super impressed by him.
I guess it's hard to comment on coffee because unless you taste it on the machine. So it's one of those things with Barista Comp. You don't get to try coffees as the judges do, which is a shame, but it's just what it is. But I didn't actually watch anyone other than Mikhail this year. So I sort of tune out. I do it on purpose as well. I'm trying not to be influenced by other people. And yeah, just trying to keep it as authentic as possible. So I don't want to, potentially take some ideas off other people. And, I want to sort of be organic as I can.
Mate, if you just find it boring, you can just tell us it's boring. It's fine. People will understand.
A little boring sometimes, but maybe my routine, not other people's. But
yeah, no, yours is amazing. Now, but what separates the World Barista Champs from any other comps? Like, what's that kind of big difference you're seeing?
Yeah, well, I guess there's nothing quite like it at the moment. And I guess it's so regulated. There's a lot of rules in place and it's very structured. So I think that's sort of what separates it. I have done a few other competitions around, but it's sort of, they're often, fun competitions and, not stressful. And it's stressful for some people, but yeah, I think it's just so, it's got a lot of funding behind it as well, a lot of sponsors, and it's just globally recognized.
And the Barista Championship itself is like the creme de la creme. That's the prize that I think everyone wants. Like Brewers is good, not taking anything away from those competitors, cup tasters, latte, you name it. But I think Barista is the one where everyone's like, okay, that's the big dog.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's so involved. The other competitions are amazing and the skills are, just as good as anything. But it's just, I think barista competition is, you've got a lot more equipment and a lot more like moving parts, I think. So I think that's probably why it's valued so high.
As someone that's done Brewers, I would say Barista is a lot harder. Someone might fucking try and kill me for that. But
I know, but it's got Mr. Humble over here. He's like media trained. He's like, now everyone is. You're just like, nah, it's crap. World Barista's the way.
Opinionated Italian. Classic.
Yeah, the opinionated Italian.
You know what it's like. You know what it's like.
Mamma mia.
What changes do you sort of see coming to the industry? Like if you can take anything from routines or your own, someone else's, and implement it into the industry in the next 5 to 10 years. What do you think? How do you see the industry changing as a result of competition sort of thing?
I think in terms of coffee, I think we're seeing a lot of additions with fermentations. So a lot of, like Jonathan, he's doing some crazy things, and Jamison as well. They're just trying different things with fermentations that we haven't really seen before. And a lot of people are sort of jumping out saying, oh, how can coffee taste like this? But it's, it's a lot of hard work that goes into these coffees, and we're all celebrating them. So I can see that path continuing. in terms of sort of like innovation and things like that, I'd love to see like more wave machines out there, and
getting wavy.
I mean, they're not for every cafe, but it's a cool tool if you are trying to be at that top level. It's improving coffee, so why not try things like this? And hopefully we see more innovations in the next year's WBC as well.
Do you think the wave machine will help our Nescafe we have here on the table? Do you think it'll bring out the sweetness and reduce bitterness?
Hey, we'll try. I'll bring it down next time. We'll try it. We'll see.
Let's try it on some Nescafe.
That's video
next time.
too.
Yeah.
We'll take it on like a great coffee and then a terrible one. Maybe there's even a good long form out of that.
I like it. But one more question from me. What's the best thing about preparing for the World Barista Championship, and what's the worst thing?
The best thing about the barista competition is, I think, sort of two parts. Learning, and I think I've learned so much from doing this. So, and I'm so grateful. And it's given me a platform as well. You invited me down because I'm doing these competitions. So, things like this.
I'd have you on anyway.
And also connecting with my team and being so close and working together. It's just something you don't really do at that high level very often. So it's really cool to share it with those people. Worst thing, there's nothing bad, but it's very time consuming. My life goes on hold. I don't do anything else. Like, I don't see friends. I don't go to sporting events. I do nothing other than train. So, which is not a negative, and I choose and I sign up for it, right? So it is what it is. So it's not a negative, but it's not an enjoyable part of the lead up, I guess.
Now, you kind of answered the question I wanted to ask just for our home baristas at home. You kind of said earlier, you were like, just a few good pieces of equipment. If you got a good grinder and like a good kettle, you got it going there. Is there any other tool? Like, there's so many bits and bobs flying around now. It's getting crazy. Is there one that you're like, nah, that's actually legit. Like, that's good. And there's one that you're just like, that's dumb, people, stop using it.
One thing that's definitely, like, it has improved my espresso, and I think anyone that uses it will improve, is the auto comb.
Yep.
And Matt Perger's done a really good job with that. But that's taken my coffee to another level. There is a lot of tools, and some help, some I don't think have a huge effect. But I just test them all. If there's anything new, I'm gonna try.
What about spraying the beans? Where do you sit on the bean spray?
I've tried it a few times, and I don't notice a huge impact or a consistent impact, I guess, on the espresso. But yeah, it's hard now because there's a lot of equipment out there. So I think it's just you got to test it. And I know some of these things cost a lot of money, but yeah, it's hard to know because there's a lot of claims made. But autocomb.
That's good to know. It's hard to know because you feel like it's like some of it's helping and some is just like, we can get a World Barista Champion using this thing, then we'll sell a lot of it.
But yeah, I mean, some of these tools are, there's a lot of different distribution techniques. Some are quite good and some aren't. So it's about purchasing or looking for the right equipment.
Before we get into the two greatest segments in all of coffee podcastery, I want to know what's on for you in 2025. Are you making another run in competition?
Yeah, I'd love to. It's one of those things. I want to put forward something I'm really proud of and an idea that I really want to showcase to the industry. So as long as I can present something like that, I'll definitely compete. And it's one of those things. If I'm competing, I'm giving it 110%. So
chill going up the spine of all aspiring competitors across the world.
But yes,
Jack Simpson's come back.
I'd love to.
He's back. I got a good deep voice. Put your espresso machines away.
Oh, no, I like that. Well, you're a little bit coy on whether or not you had a hospo horror story for us before the podcast. Are you confident with your hospo horror story telling ability?
Well, I was going to talk about the espresso that I spilt as like the horror story, but you just stole it from me, So I don't know if we can just rewind and just put that here,
No, look, we won't.
But yeah. I mean, now that you've asked him for a hospo horror story and he's got nothing, and now there's this awkward silence. It's making me feel. Making me feel awkward. Or do you have one? I was just going to a bit here.
No. I can give you
hold
one.
On. Before you go, Liam's got a noise that we always play before the hospo horror stories. Liam,
on it.
Hospo horror story.
Nice and creepy.
Right. Well, it's not that exciting. You've built it up now, but
Should we want to hear it again?
Go on.
Back in the day when I was in that local bakery, one of the tasks that I had to do, it was a small cafe, so you had to do everything, right? and cleaning toilets was one of them. Now, remember, there was one patron in the venue that was in the toilet for a long time. And I sort of forgot about it afterwards, right? But, I needed to clean the toilet at the end of the day. I go in there, I kid you not, there's poo everywhere.
What do you mean everywhere?
Ceiling! Walls, top of the toilet seat, on the ground, everywhere.
Do you describe the do you remember, did you eyeball the guy that did it?
Yes.
Was it the guy?
Well,
Was it a big bloke?
it was an older gentleman. Yeah. So,
How do you get it on the roof? What
That's
happened?
impressive.
I was impressed. I was like, how do you get it everywhere? But
Talk about anaerobic fermentation. The barrels exploded.
Nitrogen macerated, you know what?
I don't know if you call it a horror story, but
You could probably turn that into biofuel.
That's a horror story.
Hey, what do you mean? Okay, that is exactly what a horror story is.
I got a few of those, but
That's what we want. I told one about someone that just like in a restaurant just vomited into a cup at the table.
a
And
standard.
then my boss just made me have to go up and like tip the vomit down the toilet. No, that's exactly what we want in a hospital horror story. Up the walls.
And I had to clean it too. So there you go.
Was it hot?
Well, it's more of a smear rather than sort of like,
Was it hot? Was it a hot brew or a cold brew?
Well, I was kind of leaning into the
I know, it just got me. Oh my God, that's making me feel a bit sick actually. I'm feeling a bit
sick.
Let's cut
bit
that bit out.
flushed and I'm starting to get a bit steamy.
Yeah, I am too.
I think it's a bit hot. I think it's time for an extra hot take with 2 sugars. Oh, mamma mia.
So we said it just earlier. This is the greatest segment in all of coffee podcastery. And I'm always bummed that I tell this all the time because Rowan came up with the best segment that we've ever done ever.
I appreciate it.
He will
Even if
continue
it
to be
makes you
this
mad.
best segment now and always. So Jack, what we would like you to do is tell your extra hot take with 2 sugars. You got to stare down the barrel to the listener and emphatically tell them.
All right. So my hot take is that supermarket. Well, sorry, let me do that again.
My hot
Okay.
take with 2 sugars is.
Sorry.
Hot take with 2 sugars is.
Okay. My hot take with 2 sugars is specialty coffee should be more prevalent in supermarkets.
Ooh, that is a hot take. A lot of people will disagree with you there.
Yeah, I think in the Melbourne and Australian coffee scene, I think we sort of look down at specialty coffee in supermarkets. But, I was one of those people, a few years ago, but, thinking about it, like we want to champion specialty coffee. We want to see it more often, right? And a supermarket is a place, if you can get specialty coffee there, it's less commodity coffee on the shelf. So, I think we need to celebrate specialty coffee more, and wherever that can shine, I think we need to support it. So,
I'm not necessarily against it per se, but one of the big issues is how are they going to manage the dates? Because at the moment, supermarkets don't want to lose money. The use by date is a year, and a lot of the time that coffee is sitting on those shelves for a year. I bought coffee from just around the corner the other day. It was a year and a half old.
yeah, I think we can do it with milk. I think if we put that much care into coffee, we can do it. I'm not saying it's not challenging to sort of, manage these sort of problems. But I think, if we've got more specialty coffee out there, don't you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, I do. I think some of the companies out there can nitrogen flush their packages.
Yep.
So that can preserve the beans for
And a
incredibly
lot of the
long.
bigger companies do that.
Yeah.
This is where you put nitrogen into the bag. It's heavier than oxygen, so it covers the beans, right, and just stops them from oxidizing for
and
longer.
if you're at home listening to this, you think your packet of chips, that's nitrogen flushing is what keeps your packet of chips or your biscuits or whatever preserved. And
Yeah. And I think there's other ways around it. It doesn't have to be sort of, fresh beans on the shelf. We can do sort of specialty instant, or, there's some drip bags that, there's a lot of specialty coffee roasters that are doing those now.
But I
And-
think a lot of people have dates on coffee all wrong as well. I'm not saying a year's good, but people think that fresh coffee's good, and it's really not. You're doing a World Barista Championship. You age your coffee for a certain period.
Yeah.
I serve coffee at my shop. I kind of want it to be a bit older, to be honest. Don't get it so messed up about coffee ages as well.
And I think we need to respect the product as well, right? So specialty coffee, it goes through so many hands, and it's like a lot of hard work goes into it. And, we'll often turn our nose up if it's on the shelf and it's over a week or 2 old, it's still gone through all this process. Yes, it might not be its absolute best, but it's still an amazing product, and we should celebrate it and, be more accepting, I think, if it's not exactly perfect.
Do you think that that's going to open up more opportunities for specialty roasters, or do you think that people are just going to get lowballed by all of these giant supermarkets that are going to screw them out of trying to make that rather than selling direct to the consumer?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely problems with it, but I think it needs to, if we as a specialty coffee industry stand there and say, no, we want to charge what the coffee's worth.
Yep.
And make that stand. And, like I've seen it overseas. I spent some time in Canada and there was a lot of specialty coffee on the shelf that was managed quite well. Mm-hmm. So it's possible. It's
and I've seen it in the US as well. They've got a weirder balance of like the specialty, like it's like they're kind of chains, but specialty.
Yeah.
Like your Stumptowns to your blue bottles, Nestle and blah, blah, blah.
For sure. But I think it's possible.
Yeah.
It requires hard work, but let's showcase more specialty coffee.
I agree with you in the idea of supporting the specialty coffee industry, but also just opening the door to people who might not be familiar. I think that is always a good side to it. And,
definitely.
Well, my hot take, should we jump into this? Baristas, it isn't uncool to use a thermometer in your milk. This is a take from I was chatting with my mate Jamie Thompson, and we now measure our coffee to 0.1 of a gram. We have little scales. We dose it out. We measure the yield. We do all these things. But then we're just free-balling our milk steaming by hand. We just got it on the side. And when it's too hot to touch, it's ready to go. But it's like most of the drinks we're serving at cafes are made of milk. Why are we not taking the same level of precision with our milk steaming as we are with our coffee? And it's not hard. You just have the thermometer, there's a million ways that you could do it, and you can offer the same consistent product to customers over and over again. Also, different baristas are going to have different pain tolerances. You should go through and measure when each barista takes their hand off and what temperature each one of the milks is and see the variance in it.
I like this one. I've only noticed one shop in Melbourne that actually does this, and that's Patricia Coffee Brewers in yeah, they always do it. Very few others do it, I noticed. I do get a bit annoyed when customers come in and they order to temperature. They're like, I'll have a 50-degree cappuccino. I'll have a 65-degree soy latte. I don't know. It's not Subway, but, I get your point. That's the only credible way to know the temperature that you're serving.
Yeah, and I think it stems down to, I think you can get a pretty good result. Like my hands are pretty good at knowing on a home machine, I can do a timer in my head and then I'll put the thermometer in and it's the right temperature. So you can get close. It's more so that if we're going to spend so much time on the coffee side of it, let's put that effort into the other if we're going to push it to there.
Sure. milk is most of the beverage, right? If you order a flat white. So, controlling every variable you can is, why wouldn't you do it if you can?
It's a cheat code.
I think it stems over from the old 90s days of when we were flicking our grinders and tapping coffee grounds off the top with our hands and twisting it round. There was kind of this art and this mastery to look at them with their hands like a clay sculptor molding this coffee. And they just measure the temperature of the milk by hand. They're an artist. And I think it stems from that idea that and also beginners use thermometers. So it's if you see someone using it, it's they mustn't be very good. But we need to change the stigma.
Get the jugs that have the thermometer inside, I reckon. Is there one of those?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'll normalize those.
Breville even have one for their home machines where it's just on the side of the jug. It's like a little light goes up as you steam.
I like that. Well, my extra hot take with 2 sugars, I had one written down, but it actually changed after something that Jack said during the
what have I done?
It's getting hot.
During the podcast. It is getting hot. And it's something to do with fermentation. So Jack Simpson, you elicited something in me. My extra hot take with 2 sugars is Saudi Arabia will produce some of the best coffee in the world in the next 10 years. Reasons being, so you've recently been to Brazil. You went to Da Terra Coffee. Mm-hmm. Now, Da Terra Coffee, not the highest elevation. Elevation's usually pretty important to making good quality complex coffee, but they really do well with innovation in fermentation. Correct?
Really good job.
So not typically the best place, terroir wise to be able to grow the world's best coffee, but they excel in fermentation. So, and I think this is something that the Saudis will succeed at a lot in the next 10 years because they're able to grow coffee over there. And they've got a boatload of cash that they're willing to spend on this kind of thing. And I just think I'm full of confidence knowing that they've made such big advancements in agriculture over there. They're going to apply fermentation to coffee and do exceptionally well at it.
Limitation leads to innovation.
I think as well, mentioned Dateira, like they're doing a lot of work with varietals and species of coffee plants that are, they're doing a lot of work with climate change. So they're looking at plants that are tolerant to these things. So I think, with a lot of work that they're doing with some of these organizations that, potentially some of these trees might work over there as well.
What's your take on the Saudi Arabia coffee?
I think that the best coffee in the world is going to be coming out of Greenland. Iced coffee's on the rise. We're growing coffee in the ice. That's how iced coffee needs to be made.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that makes a lot of sense.
I don't know the details of it. I agree with you in that side that like that could be an interesting stance that they take, and where there's a huge coffee community growing over there. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know enough about it, but I do think that like those things, like when you're given a limitation of like this is where the coffee's at, how can we make it better? And like there's someone that would be known to throw a boatload of cash and kind of figure that out.
And there's coffee grown over there that I'd really love to try. Some of their neighbors, Yemen, they grow some of the world's best coffee in Yemen. One of the first actually coffee producing countries in the world was Yemen. So,
well, you got angry at me when I made a Saudi coffee on my channel, where I made an innovation of adding the different spices into the coffee in the portafilter.
Yeah, no,
it was delicious. It was great. I'm
not a big put other things, foreign objects into your portafilter.
I love putting a foreign object in there.
Yeah, no.
Well, you know what? Take the denim shirt off and get the hell out of here. I was going to ask, what's your now? Kirky boy over at his little Project Zero loves serving up a little co-fermented coffee. Loves a little latte. Loves a little coconut.
Here we go.
Just his Italian roots bring him into the co-fermentation world that he loves. Yes. What's your thoughts on the old co-ferment?
Oh, I'm glad you asked.
We've got a hot take with two sugars coming.
I think there's a lot of producers putting a lot of hard work in. Well, sorry, let me just rewind here. I think a lot of accusations are getting put out there and, with a few coffees that aren't co-fermented, and that people are making these accusations about these coffees. Mm-hmm. So there's two sides to it. So there's that, which I think is quite damaging to some producers. And there's also the co-fermenting side. People that enjoy these coffees, like Kirk, I think is, perfect. And, if people want to buy them, that's great. But for the people that are, casting these accusations against some of these producers, I think is quite damaging and hurtful. And yeah, like that upsets me quite a lot and gets me quite fired up.
Jacked up.
Yeah. I just, so much work goes into these fermentations and people are doing amazing things. And for people to discredit them or, throw those things around, it's insulting. And, having met some of these producers, it's, I know what goes into it, and I've been on the farms and I've seen what they do. So I think it's really important that we embrace, new things in the industry. And if people like co-fermented coffees or funky coffees or really clean coffees, I think we celebrate them all. But just be careful not to be damaging against some of these producers and throw around these claims that just aren't true.
Well said. Well said.
I like that as well. And I sort of second your point there. I think, a lot of people, there's a lot of conjecture about it at the moment, and people just need to kind of take a drink of water, so to speak. Like, you don't need to accuse people that beat you in a competition of using a co-fermented coffee. My words, no one else's. And you don't, the whole Best of Panama thing that happened, it's like, yeah, absolutely. I agree. They don't belong in a competition like that. Because that's judging what the best coffee, authentically grown coffee is. Whereas like the World Barista Champion, I think that's nowadays, I think that's a little bit different. If you're trying to win, routine on creativity, you could use a co-fermented coffee there. I do think if you judged one of those coffees better than a Finca Deborah, nitrogen macerated, natural or washed, I mean, you should probably have your judging accreditation taken away. But that's a story for a different day.
Now, we've run long here, but as I always say, how do you get Jack Simpson on the pod and not run a little long when there's so much to be said? Now, can we get a confirmation? We've got the exclusivity. You'll be back on the pod, right?
Yes, I'll have to sign the documents here. And,
We've got the documents. We'll get them to sign after. Speaking of people that just signed, today's episode of It's Just Coffee was brought to you by Eco Barista. Now, they're making some of the best eco-friendly products, whether it be your coffee bags, your cups, your lids, whatever it is. Kirk and I both use them, both love them, and now they're a sponsor of this pod.
And it's quite easy to order as well. You can connect with them on Automentum if you're in Australia. So just go on the app and just order as many bags as you need. But if you want your own custom job, give Russ an email. You can sign up for an order on their website. So you get 15% off your first order. That is ecobarista.com.
.au. Is it? Yeah.
Sorry,
Russ. That's ecobarista.com.au.
Maybe.
No, just type Eco Barista into Google and you got it.
Just go past Eco Barista.
And stay tuned. We're going to be doing a coffee break where we get to talk crap about Jack once he's gone and just absolutely pick apart his full podcast presentation. No, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have been one of my favorite guests we've had on.
Thanks, guys. This is my favorite podcast.
We've been campaigning for a while to get this one as well.
Absolutely. And I think I've only actually met you once where I ran up to you at Mice and was like, hey, and you were talking to someone.
I was actually there. You were like, oh my God, it's Jack. Oh my God, it's Jack.
I was like, oh my God, I'm the biggest fan.
I don't know.
Come and make my coffee for me. No, on bottom of my heart, thank you for coming by. I want to get you on the show again because you're such a great chat, and I know our audience has a whole lot they can learn from you, as well as me. I'm learning a lot from you as well. So thank you very much for coming by. If you have any questions, any hot takes, you want to reach out to us, it's hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com, and you can find us on all of the socials at It's Just Coffee Pod. Kirk, anything else before we go?
No, I'm fired up. Thank you so much again, Jack, for coming on. It's
my pleasure.
It's a pleasure, and we'll definitely get you back, and perhaps some of your colleagues as well.
And as always, it's just coffee. Now, Jack, let's get you in those footy shorts and make a coffee.